Thank you very much, Chandrajit, for your opening comments and the overview about India at 75. Other distinguished panelists and colleagues from CII, and all those who are a part of this very important engagement, India at 75, Mission 2022. I'm grateful to CII for giving me this opportunity for adjusting their time schedule and allowing me to participate in this very important summit. At the outset, may I pay my condolences to the families of the deceased and my best wishes for swift recovery for all those who either suffered the landslide that happened at Rajamalai in the Idukki district of Kerala, and those who were in the ill-fated Air India flight from Dubai to Kozhikode, which crash landed yesterday. I hope the injured get recover very quickly, and we pray for the souls of the departed. It's a very momentous day that you chose to have this summit, Uday Bhai, Chandrajit, all of you. It was on this day in 1942, 8th of August, that Mahatma Gandhi had launched the Quit India movement, which then culminated in the big program on 9th of August 1942 at Agast Kranti Maidan, very close to our homes in Mumbai. Mahatma Gandhi, during the Quit India movement, had made a comment, and I'd like to quote: "Everyone who desires freedom and strives for it must be his own guide. Let every Indian consider himself to be a free man." It is that courage of conviction that he wanted to drive in every Indian way back in 1942, that consider yourself that you are a free man and move forward with that spirit that we are going to achieve independence. And that clarion call to the British to quit India then snowballed into the independence movement, catching the imagination of every Indian, leading to our independence on 15th August 1947. In the same spirit of reminiscence, let us look back on the path we took and find some lessons in history which can guide us in our effort to redesign, remake, and reinvent our future. Each story of struggle and achievement has a common theme. And that theme, to my mind, is absolute focus on a singular objective, because I believe that yields very good results, both in the short and the medium term. Let me take a case study from ancient times to modern times. Moses led his flock with a singular objective of freeing them from tyranny of the pharaohs, and achieved it within his lifetime. The French or the Russian Revolution desired to overthrow the monarchical rule and lead to the establishment of a republican form of government, and they achieved it in one generation. By focusing on the sole objective of achieving independence, Mahatma Gandhi and others achieved freedom in one generation. Literally, something which every Indian wanted was achieved in a span of 20 odd years. However, after realization of that one goal, subsequent achievements have taken longer time to reach to every Indian, every citizen around the country, probably due to lack of focus, lack of a clear roadmap, lack of a commitment to achieve well-defined goals. Now we are struggling with a new problem before the country. And we need to get freedom from COVID-19. But this time, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has a very clear short-term, medium-term, and long-term roadmap to achieve the ambitious objectives that we have laid down before the country. Under the PM's leadership, our goals, which have of course evolved and progressed with time, have very clearly articulated Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India, but not an India which closes its doors, but which opens its doors to wider engagement in the global economies, in the global sphere, from a position of strength, from a position of confidence. The thing that matters most to every Indian today is the achievement of the goals that we've set out before us to be a $5 trillion economy by 2025, going forward to become a $10 trillion economy by the turn of the decade. If I may quote from Swami Vivekananda, take up one idea, make that idea your life, think of it, dream of it, live on it. It is the only way to success. And I think this inspirational suggestion of Swami Vivekananda is what drives CII to think about India at 75. And ultimately, our Mission 2022 can only be a stepping stone to a larger goal to make India a very, very important stakeholder in the global world, to bring India the right preeminent position that we deserve as an economy, as a nation of 1.35 billion people. And I'm sure as we emerge successfully from this COVID-19 crisis and enter into the post-COVID world, we will develop from this narrow vision of coming out of COVID today into a grander vision to develop the lives of 1.35 billion Indians, to provide each Indian an opportunity for a good quality of life. As we develop ease of doing business, we'll focus on ease on living. As we look at growing the economy, growing our GDP, we'll look at growing opportunities for our people, for higher incomes, for better quality of jobs, better education, better healthcare, better quality of lives in rural India and in urban India. And I'm sure with the collective efforts of all the old and young members whom you just listed out in the Mission 2022 team that you have set up, and under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, we will convert this crisis into opportunity, as Uday Bhai rightly pointed out, and emerge stronger, emerge bolder, and emerge self-reliant. Atmanirbhar Bharat is not just a slogan, it should become the mission of our lives. India has to engage with the world with competitive prices, high quality products, large scale economies of manufacturing, high productivity levels, not on the clutches of government subsidies, but on our own very strength, on our own feet we need to stand and engage with the world and succeed in creating a better tomorrow for 1.3 billion Indians. Only by being self-dependent and fulfilling both India's needs and the needs of a global world who are looking for trusted partners, who are looking for stakeholders in their global supply chains, who will be resilient, who have a rule of law, who have transparency in their systems, who have a court of appeal, who have a vibrant media, strong judiciary, and democratic traditions. These are the type of partners the world is looking for. And India provides all of these and can become a trusted partners of global supply chains. In fact, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which defines the very soul and essence of India, where we see the world as one family, can best be articulated in India's own emerging engagement with the rest of the world, where we look at the world as one family, but we are also an important element of that family. Because just like during the COVID-19 crisis, India became the pharmacy of the world. Over 150 countries got an equitable distribution of medicines. 50 countries got medicines free of charge. And many people were wondering why we brought those restrictions on export of medicines. I'd like to clarify, the restrictions were never meant to stop the supply of medicines. They were brought in to ensure an equitable distribution across the country. Else, in the period of crisis, a few nations would have cornered all the available pharmacy and medical stocks, and the poor and less privileged sections of society or less rich countries would have remained deprived of adequate medicine. CII knows very well, when we reached out to the world to import personal protective equipment, testing kits, ventilators, no country was willing to supply us these products. But what did India do? We used the lockdown period to become self-reliant in these products. Today, India does not only produce these products for our own needs. We have opened up ventilators for export. We have opened up coveralls and personal protective equipment for export. We have opened up masks for export. We have opened up testing kits for export. That's the inherent strength which all of us have in India, but it only needs to be galvanized. It only needs to be pushed a little more. And that is what Prime Minister Modi and all of us are trying to do. I hope that is what CII will also push our colleagues in business and industry to do. When a crisis comes before us, somehow we perform the best. And I think this is the time that Indian industry should come up to the expectations of the world. In fact, I have some good news to share with all of you. For the last 11 days, Indian Railways has been running their freight trains at twice the speed of what they were running 1 year ago. So from about 23 kilometers per hour, freight trains today are running at 46 kilometers per hour, which means faster transport of goods, more efficient service, and for the first time in the history of Indian Railways, rather than our users, our customers coming to the railways, coming to our doorstep and literally pleading that their material be given a priority, today every division, 69 divisions across the country, have business development units who are reaching out to industry to get more freight. Because now I have so much surplus capacity in the railways because of faster movement of freight trains. I don't have enough business to move. Despite that, in the last 11 days, we have moved more freight. And I think analysts on the call, and Uday, your own bank's analyst should certainly study what's happening. Railways has moved more freight in the last 11 days, 4% more freight than they did in the same 11 days in 2019. On the export front, we have come to about 91% level of the exports of July. In the month of July 2020, we are at 91% level of what we were exporting last year. In fact, the last 10 days of August, we were at over 95% export level. The last 10 days of August. More interestingly, if you remove petroleum products and gem and jewelry, both of which are largely import dependent with a small value add in India, and then add to our exports. If you remove gem and jewelry and oil-based exports, we have actually grown in the month of July. And in the last 10 days of July, we've grown by about 10%. And I think that should be music to the ears of all the analysts who are worried about whether it will be a U-shaped recovery, a V-shaped recovery. But at the same time, we cannot rest on our laurels. This is a short-term phenomenon. We all need to work harder to institutionalize this. We all need to go from a position of confidence. And I'm sharing these statistics to give that confidence to all our people that we can do it. We got to make up our mind. We got to be sure of ourselves. Just like Mahatma Gandhi had said, and I had quoted earlier, each one of us should consider himself to be a free man. I think if each one of us in business and industry, trade and commerce, considers that yes, countries come back onto the recovery path, accepts the reality that we are going to go forward on a fast track, we can even now make up for what we lost in the last 3 or 4 months. In fact, when you are confident, you take action. Of course, when you are in doubt, you have to take action. Because in doubt, if you don't take action, you're bound to fall. And I'd like to share a short story to supplement what I am requesting all of you to do. There was a sage meditating near a village, and many people used to flock to him, seeking his advice on several matters. But despite his advice, they would keep coming back to him every day with the same problems. 2 times, 3 times, 7 times, he gave them the advice, but then he realized he'll have to change his track. To drive home his point, the next time they came to him, he told them a story. It was a humorous story, and they all laughed. The second day, he repeated that story. In respect, few of the people laughed. On the third day, when he repeated the story, nobody laughed. One young person, and I'm glad you have youngsters like Rajan Navani on your Mission 2022 team. One of the youngsters took the liberty to ask him, Guruji, आपने यही बात हमें 3 बार सुना दी है. अब इस पे नई बात क्या है? And then the sage said, if you can't laugh at the same joke every day, why are you always crying over the same problem? Go out there and act and resolve your problem. Why are you coming back to me with the same problem? And I think it's our equal responsibility for me in government and for all of you in business. We'll have to work together. We'll have to find solutions to overcome the past. We'll have to look at the new way the world wants us to engage with it. We'll have to see what needs to be done on both sides of the fence. Atmanirbhar Bharat can only succeed when you and I put in equal effort, when you and I believe in ourselves and in each other, when you and I go from a position of confidence and strength. And that is what the Honorable Prime Minister has articulated as the goal of the nation, as the commitment of his government, and as the collective desire of 130 plus crore people in this wonderful nation of ours. When we talk of a strong India, we are talking of a India where S stands for Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, or Sabka Vishwas. We will all have to collectively work and build up confidence in the people, develop a better future for 130 crore Indians, and earn the trust of every single Indian. When we talk of T in the strong, that's total focus on the goal of a self-reliant India, of a strong India, where Make in India has a role to play, Serve from India has a role to play, Design in India has a role to play, Innovate in India has a role to play, Digital India has a role to play, Clean India has a role to play. Collectively, all these programs we have to bring focus, total focus to the development of India. The R in strong stands for a resilient India, which works with a competitive spirit. Our excellence and competitiveness should earn us good results, not weakness. Similarly, our O is for opening up ourselves to new horizons, remove the restrictions in our thinking, grow in sectors like coal, defense, agriculture, aerospace, mining, and many more that we wish to open up for the country. When we talk of strong, the N stands for nationalism. Ultimately, when we are dealing with the rest of the world, we also need to have our nationalist spirit. Only then can we strive for the world to accept India's position of strength. Only then can we drive the world to crave for our products and services when they are competitive and high quality. I think a strong India in its G is gearing up for a better tomorrow for 130 crore Indians. And unless we develop our industrial competitiveness, unless our businesses grow and prosper and succeed, we cannot bring a better India to 130 crore Indians. The various measures we are taking, single window clearance, new logistics policy, the national education policy, our national infrastructure pipeline, the national broadband mission, and several more initiatives collectively are designed to have a holistic impact for the complete and overall comprehensive development of India. The Prime Minister's philosophy and strategy is to look at the entire country, but also look at the parts of the country, the parts of the economy, the parts of social development. And then the sum of the parts will lead to a better India for the future, a better India for every Indian. Even if we fall 1,000 times, each one of us have to resolve to get up and work the 1,001th time. We'll dust ourselves and carry on. We'll move towards a better future because we want to leave behind a legacy for our next generation. We want to move from recklessness to responsibility. We want to move from turbidity to transparency. We want to move from rigidity to resilience. We want to move from idleness to industriousness. That's the new India that India is preparing itself for. When India turns 75 in 2022, each one of us, proud citizen of India, should be a part of our progress. As India emerges from this crisis, it should soar even higher and higher with strong wings at our command. Wings which have been forged by our struggles and learnings. Let us prepare ourselves for India at 75. My best wishes to CII and Mission 2022 for all the wonderful work you are doing, which will help us change the course of history collectively with our common sense of purpose and determination. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.